Okay, so today's session is a bit more interactive than the rest because I'm going to ask all of you to reach into your goodie bag, take out your Sharpie, it might be pink or blue, take out your awesome little Stapler black pen, and take out your notebook because I invite you to draw with me. For those of you who are already taking sketch notes, this is going to be easy because I'm going to basically help you make your sketch note. For those of you who are feeling a bit of trepidation, that's good because I'm here to help you overcome that. Today we're talking about sketching. We're talking about sketching for fun and for profit, because sketching can be fun. We all enjoyed sketching as a kid before we hit that hurdle of feeling like it was art and that we weren't good enough and that we didn't have the confidence to express ourselves with visual language. But sketching can really also be profitable. For me personally, I get paid to draw pictures these days and I feel very lucky for that. But even if you don't aspire to become an illustrator or a video animator or something, sketching is one of those life skills that's super useful, whether we work in UX or whether we just kind of like in business in general. You know, if we can sketch, if we feel confident with the pen, we can be better at collaboration, we can be better at fleshing out our own ideas, we can be better at communicating with others. And so I'm just going to give you a few tips in the short time I've got, and I know I'm standing between you and lunch. But we're just going to get a bunch of tips down about how to be better sketchers. And so here we go. So draw with me in the center of your notebook, sketching for fun and profit, and we'll begin. So we're going to begin with, well, we're going to actually cover a bunch of stuff, none of which I have invented or come up with myself, but have borrowed from various luminaries in the field. I have a massive crush on Sonny Brown. Does anyone know who Sonny Brown is? Sonny has a TED talk called The Doodle Revolution, which I encourage you to check out. It's all about this idea of being confident with sketching. And so I learned from Sonny this idea of a visual alphabet. So the visual alphabet is, and draw this with me, if you can see, okay, we've got a point, we've got a line, we've got an angle, we've got an arc, we've got a spiral, and we've got a loop. These are the 6 open items in the visual alphabet. I'm sorry that it's so fuzzy. Don't know what we can do about that. Can you guys almost get what's going on there? I'm sorry, it's not a great picture. That's getting better. Okay, so these are the 6 open items in the visual alphabet, and there are 6 closed ones too. There's an oval, there's an eye, there's a square, there's a triangle, there's a house, and there's a cloud. Can anyone in this room not draw these 12 items? Put your hand up if you are unable to draw these 12 items. You see, this is the building blocks for our visual language, because we can basically combine these 12 items to draw pretty much anything. Now, I'm not talking kind of beautifully photorealistic renderings of objects. We're just talking about communication. We're not creating art. We're creating images that communicate and do so in a way that's unambiguous. So we can do stuff like we can draw, let's see, everyone's hungry, let's draw a hamburger. We'll draw an arc with a line, a couple more lines underneath it, maybe a couple of arcs underneath, bit of lettuce in the middle there. It's not a particularly award-winning illustration, but it looks like a hamburger, right? A few points on top for sesame seed buns. A coffee mug. We can draw a coffee mug by drawing an oval. couple of lines, another arc, and a couple of arcs on the side. How did you go with that? Pretty straightforward, right? Dan, you're not sketching. Let's draw another object. If we want to draw a watch, it's easy. We can draw a square, kind of stick a upside down inverted house underneath it, a rectangle above it, and let's make it a calculator watch from the 80s, just for fun. Okay? We can combine any of these items to draw pretty much anything, and that's really powerful. When we're trying to think about our own ideas, when we're trying to communicate to someone else what we mean, words can be ambiguous, and visuals can cut through that confusion and bring something to life on the page and get people on board with it. Cool? Let's mix things up a bit and make it a little bit more difficult. Let's look at drawing people. So, when we draw faces, a common mistake that we make is often to stick the eyes in our forehead. So if we want to get some kind of dimensions that are more accurate, if we draw an egg for the head, cut that egg in quarters, a line through the horizontal centre and a line through the vertical centre. And then that bottom half, cut it in half again, and that bottom quarter, cut it in half again. This is a rough guide for where we put the most important features on our face. We can stick a couple of eyes on here. We can put a nose here, a mouth, and a couple of ears. Of course, we don't want to have these horrible black tattoos on our people's faces, so draw another face next to that one without the guidelines, but with the features in the same position. And this is a pretty good indication of where features can go in a face to make them look a little bit more like a human. And then we can hang hair on that face, make it a boy, or if we can make the hair a bit longer, give it a female face, maybe a couple of eyelashes and some lips to make it look a little bit more feminine. Some nice eyebrows. So there's a simple tip for where to stick eyes, nose, and mouth on a face. Useful, huh? This is something I learned from Stan Lee. He's a Marvel Comics genius. The next tip I'm going to give you is taking those faces and putting some emotion behind them. So Austin Kleon has this grid. So draw this grid with me, and we'll explore how to get some simple emotions into our faces. So it's a 9x9 grid. We're going to stick a face in every single square there. Every face is just going to have 2 eyes and a nose, and that's all for now. And this grid, along the side, has 3 different mouths. And then along the top, we've got 3 different eyebrows. So this is like a little cheat way to combine the way that our face moves to create a bunch of expressions. So in that first grid, we've got the emotion of, what would you call that? It's like relief, right? The eyebrows are arched. Whereas if we change the eyebrows with a smile, we get this kind of devious Mr. Evil smile. And then if the eyebrows are straight, I'm not sure what that emotion is. It's kind of complex. It's just a few squiggles on a piece of paper, but it's maybe, I I'm feeling guilty. This looks like Schadenfreude, right? I'm feeling bad about the fact that this person's got something bad going on in their life, but I'm enjoying it. So go ahead and fill in that grid. We've got the sad face with like really kind of upset, and then we've got angry, and then we've just kind of got this resigned look. And then along the bottom with the flat mouth. We've got this kind of, oh my goodness, I don't know how to react. And then this, I'm a bit upset about that. And this kind of meh vibe. So these are really very basic squiggles that are communicating quite complex emotions in these faces. It's a really handy way to bring some emotion into the characters that you might use in your storyboards. Perhaps if you're taking sketch notes at a conference, you can put a bit of emotion into the characters. Okay, next we're going to do figures. If I have a camera come back to me. Oh, sorry. Okay, we're back. Good. Right, so figures. So everyone can draw a stick figure, but stick figures are not particularly versatile at communicating different poses. So I'm going to introduce you to the box figure, which I learned from Dave Gray. So to draw a box figure, we draw first a ground line. This is the line that says this is the ground. And above that ground, we just draw a box, okay? A simple rectangle hovering above the ground line. And we connect that box to the ground, draw a little oval above the box and hang some arms off the corners, and voila, this is our box figure. Now it's the next evolutionary step up from the stick figure, but it's so much more versatile because we've got an actual torso, so we can do things with this figure. We can have them jumping for joy, celebrating. We can move our box to be a bit more of a parallelogram and depict them running. And we can even change the camera angle by drawing a rhombus here. And giving it a worm's eye view, looking up at our figure. So this is the power of the box figure, that we just can't do this stuff with a stick figure. So I encourage you to experiment with different poses with the box figure, because communicating poses in storyboards and different visual situations is a really powerful thing to do. Okay. Next we're going to talk about type and typography. How many graphic designers in the room? So you guys will be well aware of the concept of contrast in design. When we're sketching, it's really a great tip to apply the design contrast into our sketches. So if we're making a few notes and we want to have some visual hierarchy on the page, then try and combine different typefaces beyond just your standard handwriting. So we call this contrasting headlines. So we might do one headline using a Sharpie or a different colour. And then we'll write the second piece of text below it using a different pen, or a thinner line, or a different colour, or something that offsets it to make the two stand out. This theory of contrast in design is really just that if you're going to make something different, make it really different. Don't make it just a little bit different, because that creates a bit of tension. And when it's just not quite the same, our brain just wants it to become the same. We should have just done it consistently. If we make it different, make it really different, like this. And the last thing that I want to share with you is the use of containers. So putting a box around information is a great way to call it out and say, this is important. And there's so many different ways that we can do this that are interesting. For example, we can create like a picture frame here. We do a double line. And put a little thing in the corner. It looks like it's a picture frame. We can hang that on the wall. And then we can also use conventions from comics. We can do stuff like word balloons. And we can create thought bubbles, if I can spell. And then if we are listening and we want to capture a quote or something that really stands out to us, then stick some big quotation marks around it. Then it stands out from the page rather than just being lost in a big sea of text. It's all sitting at the same visual hierarchy. So I hope that stuff is useful for you guys. So my name is Matt. You can write this down. This is my Twitter handle. Feel free to say hello. I'm from UX Mastery. And that has been Sketching for Fun and Profit. Thank you very much.